Guys, what's 5019 in French?
I don't speak French.
I don't know.
I think you should both Google it right now.
I'm googling it now. I was literally curious. The 5019 in French.
I can't be bothered to Google since Brandon's doing it.
5019.
What does that,
5019.
yeah, what does that sound like?
5019. 5019.
I think that's an album by A Perfect Circle.
No.
5019.
Listen to it.
I am. 5019.
Well, listeners, it seems we've become a Finch learning how to speak show instead of a video game.
It sounds like, can you suck these nuts?
5019. I don't know. It took me a while to figure out because I was trying to think like thank me. So at first I was thinking thank me. So thank me this month. that's what I was reading it as. So what made you find out about this 5019 thing?
A podcast. I listened to a podcast and they asked the same question, but it does sound more like, can you suck on these nuts?
It's funny you say that because I was just scrolling through like Facebook videos just randomly, and there was a clip of QI when they were saying that there are words in different countries which you can misinterpret it as different English words. I'm just trying to Google it now, just try and find out what it means because if I knew the video, no, it's gone. I'm trying to find the video, but I was just found it really interesting that there were just some of these words that obviously have their own meaning, but obviously when you translate it into a different language, it just goes a bit weird, or vice versa. So that's really bugging me now. That I want to find the video.
No, I've never used a site like Rosetta Stone, but I'm pretty sure the first thing they don't teach you is how to say phrases that sound like, "Do you want to suck these nuts?"
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Victory Achieved podcast. And I am Brandon, and I am here with my lovely two boys, Chris and Dan. Say hello, my lovely two boys.
Hi. Why do I sound like your child?
Child?
You think my boys, my child, my boy.
Yeah, you're my boys.
I'm much older than you.
I know.
You're my big boy.
He's Brandon's the youngest out of us. It's just the way. It's the way you say it. You said it. You made it sound like you were a dad. And you're like, these are my two beautiful boys.
These are my two children I'm babysitting for today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this dysfunctional family that is Victory Achieved podcast.
So I thought, we've done quite a few themed episodes so far. So what have you guys been up to? Like, just overall, like, I've not really done anything new. I've just been I've mentioned it before, but I did pick up the Xbox Game Pass. So I've been scrolling through that and...
Oh, here he is, going about Game Pass again.
Only because, right, Mr. Influence over here. And obviously, Wolong came out on Game Pass. So I was like, okay, rather than just buy the game, I'll just get an Xbox. And the thing which I found actually quite surprising about Game Pass is it's actually got quite a few of the legacy games on there, which not on the Game Pass itself, on the Xbox Game Store. So there's like one of the From Software games on there, Enchanted Arms, which I absolutely adore that game to bits, but it's £16 at the moment. I would have thought as an Xbox 360 game they'd at least dip the prices a little bit. I know, I mean they're not like Nintendo, are they? Like Nintendo, they'd be like, I don't care if the game came out 30 years ago, it's still £60.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for Enchanted Arms to drop their price, and I will snatch that up faster than anything else. But yeah, I've been playing Halo Wars. Have any of you guys played Halo Wars before?
No, I you know me, I've not played any Halo, so except multiplayer. So I have no. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember if I've spoken about Halo Wars, but it's a real-time strategy take on the Halo series. It came out like late 2000s or not late 2000s, well, not even, oh fuck me, like around about 2010-ish, back that era. And at the time when it came out, you had Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, and then it was going through that period of like, okay, Halo 3 ODST was in production, but there was also Halo Wars, and everyone was really anxious for like the next Halo game because it's been a while since anything happened after Halo 3. And then that's when Halo Wars came out. And I think at the time it was a bit, controversial in the fact that it wasn't a first-person shooter, but more of a real-time strategy game. But all of like the die-hard real-time strategy players will be like, oh no, it's not a real-time strategy game at all. Like, I mean, granted, it's a very dumbed-down real-time strategy game because there's not really many mechanics to think about. It follows like your box standard like rock paper scissors format, where infantry beats air beats tank, and tank beats infantry and whatnot. But I just find it, I don't know why, but I just find it just entertaining. Like just trying to get like all the skulls, trying to get all the objectives, trying to get like gold medals on everything. But I remember, but it's one of these games where because it's been so long since I played it, I actually forgot. Because like usually if you love a game, you tend to remember a lot about it after years, don't you? For some reason for this game, like there's 15 campaign missions, but for whatever reason, I think I only remember 4 of them. And then it wasn't until I was replaying it, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, there's 15 of these. Like, I only remember like 4 of them. But there's one stage in particular that stands out to me, and that's Arcadia City, which is an absolute monster of a stage to try and complete on the highest difficulty and get a gold medal for. So I'm not looking forward to when it comes to me trying to get all the achievements for Halo Wars, because because when it was on the Xbox 360, I was one of these achievement hunters, because back in the days, like everyone wanted to get the highest gamer score. So I was like, right, fuck it, I want to try and get all the achievements for Halo Wars. And there was just that one achievement, which is about getting like the gold medal on every stage. And this particular stage for Arcadia City, I just remember it just spending weeks and weeks trying to do this. It was not great. So yeah, but that's pretty much what I've been up to. What about you guys?
Well, before we move on, I've got a question about Halo Wars.
Bring it, bitch. I mean, head it down.
What's the story of it? Like, where does it take place in Halo?
In terms of that's what I don't. Yeah.
I know.
So it actually takes part before Halo 1.
Okay.
So yeah, because back in this time period, there were still multiple Spartans. Because in terms of the Halo 1, 2, and 3, the only Spartan remaining is Master Chief. So back in Halo Wars, it was still when there was that abundance of Spartans. So like there were like still like armies of them.
So because it isn't like Reach before 1.
Yeah. So Halo Wars happens like much before. Then you got Reach. Then you got 1, 2, and 3, and ODST happens somewhere parallel or just after 3, I think. And then obviously you got Halo 4 and then Halo Infinity and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, it's just nice going back because it's got like a complete. It's like it's almost its own entity. The fact that you've got the, I think it's, it was just nice playing. Like the story wise, obviously it's a bit janky because it's just quite episodic and doesn't really flow as an actual story. But the actual like gameplay wise, it's. I didn't really have that many problems with it apart from it. Like the multiplayer was very bullying, basically. Like if you were playing that, like I remember like being in like year 10 and trying to get into competitive Halo Wars, and it was, kind of aggressive and kind of, you get like metas, like what you do in like normal competitive stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But apparently I think because Halo Wars 2 is also on the Xbox Game Pass. So once I finished everything with Halo Wars, I've never played Halo Wars 2. I didn't even know it was a thing until a couple years ago. So I'm oddly looking forward to giving Halo Wars 2 a go in the future.
What are the factions you play as? Is it just...
So there's the human... So in Halo Wars 1, you've got the human race, and then you've got the Covenant race. So for the human race, you can choose of 3 commanders. You've got Captain Cutter, who is like the supreme commander of the Air Force, or of the fleet. And he specializes in the ODST ground force. He has a Mac blaster, can use elephants to basically produce more soldiers. You've got Sergeant Forge, who specializes in tanks. And then you've got Professor Anders, who specializes in escort. And then she also has like, other perks with her as well. And then in terms of the Covenant, you've got the Arbiter. Everyone knows him like the elite. And he specializes in suicide grunts. And he can... And with the Covenant race, you can actually use the actual Covenant themselves as basically an extra unit. So you can play as the Arbiter, you can play as the Brute Chieftain, or you can play as the Prophet. And then like the Brute Chieftain, you can use Brutes, and then the Prophet, you can use Elite Honor Guards, and you can call down one of the cleansing lasers from one of the ships to do damage to the enemy bases. So you've got a choice of like 6 characters, but that doesn't. But the only problem is that as you play the game, because it's like quite got a short-lived aspect into when you're actually playing the game. Like once you get to the end game, it's just quite the samey. It sort of loses its like as you do like a lot of late games or early game stuff. You tend to lose traction of the replayability of it because that's I'd say that's mainly the problem because it's quite a short-lived game. Like 15 campaign missions and very select strategy when it comes to doing the actual like multiplayer and competitive. I'd say it's probably what holds it back quite a lot. But like I said, apparently Halo Wars 2 still has a lively online community that still do competitive and still make like content on YouTube. I didn't realize they would, to be honest. Honestly, I did not know it because I thought Halo was like a relic of the past, but no, it's oddly still going strong, and I don't know why.
No idea. I was just interested because I don't really know. I've never played any of the Halos properly, and I don't really know much about Halo Wars. So I was just wondering.
I mean, I will give credit to Microsoft. I would say the Gears of War series has a really nice and compelling story. Halo, if you really get invested in Halo, has a sort of nice and compelling story. So I give those games credit. They are quite compelling, and if you really invest in all the lore and everything, it is actually quite a nice story. So I do give credit to the Microsoft originals for that. But they're the only ones I can think of because I've never played any other Microsoft originals apart from those two.
Well, you know someone else who's in a suit, a little bit like Master Chief.
Was this Samus?
It might be Chris. you have played as well Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yes, I have. So I know Dan mentioned this last week, but I wasn't actually going to shell out for Metroid Prime Remastered, but I got a unexpected Twitch payout, which I took a break, so I wasn't expecting one, but I got one. So I thought, you know what, I'll buy that then. I'll stream that at a later date. Yeah, it's Metroid Prime, all right.
Yep.
Yep. I'll give it this though. The hunch I had about the scanning being quicker, which is my major bugbear with the original. Yeah, it does scan quicker. At least it feels like it does anyway.
Yeah.
But that might just be to do with the higher frame rate compared to the original.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's the only things can really bring up is obviously the graphics have had an overhaul. The control scheme is much better.
That's what I mentioned. It's so nice, and especially once since you played so many FPS games, and then you go to Metroid Prime on GameCube, or you put the original controls on, and then you switch to the new controls. You're like, man, those original controls, they've aged. They have definitely aged.
Yeah, it felt like in the first one you were kind of just rooted to the spot because you were trying to juggle so many controls at the same time while trying to aim and shoot. But this one, a lot more freeform.
I'm not saying.
I do have.
No, sorry, carry on.
I do have one nitpick with the controls though, and that's using the super beam weapons. So how it works? How it works is you shoot missiles with one shoulder button, and then fire regular blaster with the other shoulder button on the same side. So both right triggers. But this comes more of an issue later on when you start using upgraded beam powers. Because how it works is you charge your regular beam and then fire a missile, which means you're clamping down both trigger buttons at the same time. And on the little Twitch Joy-Cons, it's a bit awkward. You gotta kind of hook your finger around the top of the thing to do it, to hold down both buttons at the same time.
Well, you can use your beam on two buttons.
Yeah, it's still awkward though.
Okay.
Yeah, regardless, just holding down two things at the same time.
I'll probably
doesn't quite work.
Yeah, I'll probably find that myself when I get to it. I've not really played much of Prime. I've done a bit more, but I haven't played too much.
Yeah, well, I've finished it.
Yeah,
and it does seem to highlight though what a lot of other people said is the level design isn't great. It's fine for the first half of the game, and then the second half, what the game does is essentially makes you go on a key hunt all around the world.
Yeah,
and a lot of the things you cannot get until you've got the late game upgrades. So there's an awful lot of backtracking, even just for the critical path before the keys. To get to one area, you've got to pass through Magmore caverns at least 5 times just to get the essential upgrades. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And by the end of the game, it was a real slog to finish it. It was oh, come on. I've only got to get 2 more bits, but they're both at the opposite side of the world map. It's
Echoes does the exact same. Echoes a bit better with upgrades, but then it still is similar, where it's still got all the little key bits, but it's all the light keys or whatever they're called at the end of the game. It's still as bad. I
think they're paced slightly better, and there's one less area, so that's essentially one less place to get lost in.
Yeah.
So it is better done. But,
I still prefer the first over the second, but I think that's my nostalgia coming into it. But
yeah. Well, we'll have to wait for them to remaster 2 and 3 because it's going to come if they're going to do the first.
It's
coming.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's mostly the same assets, really, so it can't take them long to just say, oh, yeah, bump up the graphics again and change the controls. That's all they have to do. And it will sell like hotcakes.
Oh, it definitely will.
So we've got a little bit of a topic which we're going to talk about later. So obviously, like Metroid Prime is a remaster, but we were thinking more along the lines of remake, which we're not going to get into just yet because Dan's got a game he wants to talk about, but that is going to be our main theme. So stay tuned. Dan, what have you been playing?
I finally finished Fire Emblem Engage. I actually have, it took me about just under 100 hours. It took me about 95 hours, but I probably could have got through it a bit quicker. And to be fair, that includes all the DLC that's been released so far. As of time recording, there's only one more DLC to come out. Because I was going to buy the expansion pass anyway. I bought it on day one, and it's been a fun little extra. It's just given like some extra missions and some extra emblems, and it's been nice having that. I guess I can just give you my final thoughts on the game. Pun intended. The story's not really that engaging. It's fine. it's good. It's good and fine for what the game is. I think it was never going to beat Three Houses. It was never going to be better than past Fire Emblem games. But it's fine. I think because of what the game is, it's very far-fetched because of its emblems. It was never going to have the best story of the franchise. But saying that, the characters I found really fun. Near enough every character I really like. When you get into their supports, that were as fun as I had as much as fun with them as I did with all the Three Houses characters. It was great. Like some had dark past, while others were just like, I'm just a writer, and it was just characters reading their books, and it was fun. The cast is very varied. It's good. I would say that what makes Engage one of my favorite Fire Emblem games, which I've not played loads, but it's the gameplay. I honestly think the gameplay of Fire Emblem Engage might be the best in the franchise. It's incredible. And to the last battle, I was finding new things out about the combat that I was like, I can't believe I didn't even notice this. I think I watched a YouTube video and it did something and I was like, wait, how did that fucking happen? And then I found out how it worked and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is a thing. And that was like over 90 hours in, I was finding something new. But like, the gameplay is just fantastic. It feels very fair. As I mentioned the first time, it has the more classic feel to Fire Emblem, which is the weapon triangle, and it with all the different classes you can put on your people and all the weapons, it all feels really balanced, and all the emblems that you get, which is the gimmick of the game. Obviously, they give you a lot of power, but there's also a vulnerability to it all, and despite everything, it all feels really good. What I even like finding out how to like level up my characters and how to build my characters. Because I'm going to replay the game, I'm going to be doing it completely different. I think near enough everyone who's probably played it has had like a different party, different roster of characters, different way to build them. I probably used most of the really strong characters, but there's a limited way to build your characters, and it's fantastic. The maps for the game are all really good, except for one. They've all got like fun and interesting mechanics, and because of what Engage is very much a ode to past Fire Emblem games, they've got like these special missions with all the emblems that you get, and they basically pluck a map from one of the past Fire Emblem games and put them in. So the ones I'd played, I recognised immediately. I was like, oh, it's that one from that game, that one from that, and even on them, some of the enemies are specifically there to represent other characters from those games. I found that there's a support system where it's a bit like in Persona you got the confidants or that sort of thing. I've mentioned before that Fire Emblem has that. In Engage, it has two of them. It has support systems with all the characters, but then it has something called bonds, which you do with all the emblems. Now, what I found out is the bonds is completely different. You can basically buy them with in-game currency that you get for doing basically near enough everything in the game, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So by the time I was on the last battle, I was just buying all these bonds just so that all my characters could have maxed out emblems for the final battle. It also means when earlier on in the game you can easily gain new skills through the emblems. And so if I know when I replay this game, I'm gonna play it completely different and try to min-max my characters and my whole playthrough. The DLCs are all really good. It just adds extra emblems to the game that you can use, and they all seem really interesting and good. The latest one is absolutely broken, and I think anyone who's like starting a new game, it will be like the one DLC emblem that everyone will be beelining to because of it has a certain skill, and it's just ridiculous in a good way. It's just really useful, and it's like in some ways it's nice that they've added it on the final DLC. Not the final DLC, the third DLC, because the final one's not out yet. But the last DLC for emblems. I really enjoyed Fire Emblem Engage. I have a feeling it might not be my game of the year because I think there might be something better out this year, but this would definitely be really high on my end of year. Like, I give this a solid 8.5. I really like Engage. The story is just fine. Funny enough, I played as the female character, the female main character, because you can pick between male and female, and the story really suited her. I don't know what it would feel like if I was playing the guy, but with like the characters and everything, it just felt better as the female character. I could be wrong. I could play the male character and be like, nah, feels way better, but it really suited the female character. But I would say if you've never played Fire Emblem, great first one, although there's a lot of fan service to the past Fire Emblem games that might go over your head, but it's really good. What I did come to a conclusion, though, is I have... Well, actually, this will come in a bit later. I'm going to save this for later, because it actually comes into our main topic.
Wait to tease everyone.
Yeah, I just realised that kind of... But I have a feeling I might know... I have my wish of the next Fire Emblem game is a remake. Because one of the emblems take after Marth, who is the main emblem that takes center stage. The next emblem, the game that they're from, I would like that to be remade as the next Fire Emblem game. But we shall see. We shall see. But yes, that's, I guess, my lasting thoughts about Engage. The final DLC is set to come out soon, and I'm looking forward to that because it will introduce new characters and classes. And so until that's out, I'm gonna leave Engage for now. I love it. Chris, you have finished The Last of Us show.
I have indeed. So I suppose this is a remake as well, in a sense.
I guess.
Yes. So we did a bit of a speculation about The Last of Us, about how it was going to go when the first episode aired, and like how good the first episode was. And I'm really happy to say, like, the entire series was fantastic all the way through. All the acting was top notch. The essence of the game was captured probably to a flaw for some people, because like the show is, especially some of the episodes, are like verbatim what happened in the game. And I think some people have like nitpicked it, saying, "Do you really need this? Like, if the game already exists, do we need the show in live action?" And my argument is, yeah, because it's fucking good. It's really, really well acted, and there's like slight minor changes, but nothing that actually affects it. It's like down to the camera angles. But honestly, if you haven't played the games but have ever been curious about the storyline, do check out the show, because you won't need to play the game. Although I do say, please play the game. Yeah, and if you have played the game, please watch the show as well.
I want to watch it.
It just gives you a deeper appreciation for everything. And I haven't got any nitpicks with it. I really don't. It was just solid. My folks watched it. They enjoyed it a lot. I did wonder if they might change up the ending, like, to the game. I'm going to stop there. Before I spoil anything for anyone. Yeah, please do watch it. If you have the ability to do so, please do it, because it's not overly long. Yeah, the first episode's like an hour and a half, but every other episode is like 45 minutes to an hour, and it's 9 episodes. What you got to lose?
Will there be a continuation, or is it literally a standalone series?
They have mentioned, and I think they're gonna start filming season 2 soon, but it's while it was still airing, it was like still up in the air whether they were going to do it, and they have confirmed that it is going to happen. So I was wondering whereabouts the show would end and how it would start with the second game, but I think we've got a good idea of how it's going to go now. And yeah, I'm highly anticipating it. I think it will be another knockout. I mean, even the writers, Neil Druckmann, has said because a lot of people didn't like the storyline in the second one, and his response was, "I don't care, doing it anyway." He's like, fair play, it's his story. Didn't like it, tough. Don't watch it then.
I've only played the first game and I loved it. I think I need to play the second one and just so that I can have my own thoughts about it. I don't really I kind of have no thoughts about the second game. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I've not played it, so I literally have no thoughts. I'm just like, at some point I'll play it, but I think I finished the first game, and to me it felt like I would have been happy. It was just that it was one of those things where I was like, I'm happy with not having a sequel to this. That would have been a fine one game standalone thing, there and done. That's how
I like the second game fine, but the storyline wasn't as good as the first one. It's still decent. My main complaint with the second one is it just goes on for too long. It feels like at one point it comes to like a natural close, and then it just keeps going for like another 10 hours. It's like stop there. Yeah, maybe it could have been broken. It could have been broken down to 2 games really. It really wanted to, like a 2 and a 2.5, however you want to splice it.
Well, I know they're doing a Last of Us 3, whatever that's gonna be.
It's not really The Last of Us.
No, not really.
The Some of Us.
The Remains.
The Last of Us, apart from the others.
Well, I have, as you both know, I'm continuing on my Star Wars chronological watch, and there's still 2 episodes left, but I have watched all of Star Wars: The Bad Batch,
which doesn't star Pedro Pascal for a change.
No, he doesn't. He is not in that. The last 2 episodes of time of recording are a week today. But I've watched all of Bad Batch, and it is fantastic. It's centered around a group of clones called Task Force 99, and they are the Bad Batch. They're like genetically modified clones. They appear at the end of, at the beginning of the Clone Wars Season 7, the final season, and in some ways it's a spin-off of them from the Clone Wars, but the more you get into it, the more it's this great bridge between the Republic into the Empire, and it's especially when it goes into the episodes where it goes into that, I find the most interesting. Like, I watched an episode where it features one of the characters. He basically turns on everyone, and he follows the Empire, and it goes with him and Commander Cody, if you remember from Revenge of the Sith, and it's about them on a mission, and it was really interesting, and it was great, and that was more interesting than finding out, I wonder what Clone Force 99 are doing on their next mission for whatever. Like, I think the episode before, it was basically like an alternative to pod racing. It was a really fun episode, but it was just like, oh yeah, we're just having a little pod racing episode, and then it's just this really deep episode about the clones in the Empire and after the war, and it was fantastic. Like, when it gets quite deep into like how the clones think and how they're dealing with things after the Clone Wars is far more interesting than some of the other stuff the show does. But it's a great companion piece to the Clone Wars TV show, and it's a great insight into the change in the Star Wars universe, bringing in with the Empire. It's great. I'm really excited to see how season 2 ends next week. Or time of recording last week. Well, at the time of recording, it'll be next week. When it comes out, it'll probably be last week. But I'm really looking forward to it, those episodes, and it's been a great show. It really highlights what the Star Wars animation can do. Like the animated shows are some of the best to offer, best things to watch in terms of Star Wars. As I'm rating all the Star Wars stuff right now, all the animated stuff is like top because it just goes into far more depth than the films do, which kind of makes sense. But at the end of the day, I've only watched 3 Star Wars films, so on my complete chronological watch. So comparing it to those 3 so far, well, I have yet to. I think the next thing I've got to watch is Solo, which I'm actually really looking forward to rewatching since I've only watched it once. And then I think I've got to rewatch Obi-Wan, which I'm not as excited to rewatch.
Why?
Because the more I think about it, the more I dislike it.
It's one of those shows that seem like fine on first viewing, but the more you stop to think about it, it's like, hang on a minute. Quite a number of plot holes in. I think a few things I didn't actually enjoy.
It's now my least favourite of the 4 Star Wars TV shows.
Not even Boba Fett.
It'd be Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, and then Mandalorian with Andor top for me.
Yeah, Lando's definitely top.
Oh, like the gap between Boba and Mando, there is a big gap, but yeah.
Well, you can tell with the one episode of Boba Fett, like the show all about Boba Fett just had one episode where it's just Mandalorian, and that was the best episode by far.
Yeah, well, no, I'm been like so fascinated with just going through like this chronological order of Star Wars, seeing like what it all has to offer, especially like with like the latest season of Mando and seeing what that's adding, or not just the latest season, all of Mandalorian, or just everything except for Obi-Wan, like except for Obi-Wan and Andor, what Book of Boba Fett and Mando have like added, or what they've also included from like the animated stuff. It's just making me more excited for when I rewatch them and be like, oh, because I've now watched all of Clone Wars, I know this character more, and so I'm really excited to go further through. I just know that as soon as I finish Mando season 3, I'll then be going into the sequel trilogy, and then I'm just like, oh no, I'm not looking forward to this. I was like thinking again today, like that sequel trilogy really could have been, it could have been good. It's just like, I don't know, it was just poor management. I just think it was just poor pre-production. It just led to all the bad decisions of it.
And the writing. The writing was terrible.
Well, that kind of goes part and parcel. Like, if I'm not, like, I don't know if J.J. Abrams was the best person to do it, but his entire vision was broken. He set the stage, and then Rise of Skywalker just fumbled trying to get that same vision from the building blocks that he'd made, and then Rian Johnson had destroyed. So I don't know. But who's talk next?
Brendan's been quiet for a while.
I haven't really got anything I can add, but I mean, well, you've been, obviously you said you're going through Star Wars, or I haven't really been watching something new, but I have been re-watching something, and it's something which, it's probably one of my favourite crime series I've watched, because I wouldn't say I'm really like a big crime fan, but obviously it's an anime, and it's a series called Bungo Stray Dogs.
Never seen it.
And it's about these people have these things called gifts, so you can think of them similar to like quirks from My Hero, or you can think of it as your general like superhuman abilities, for example. So in Bungo Stray Dogs, you're following the main character. I can't remember. That's gonna sound awful. I can't remember his name. I know it begins with an A, but I've slept since then. His special ability is actually wanted by the black market, because what he can do is he can turn into a were-tiger. So he becomes like really like physically resistant. He's rapid healing and whatnot. And he was like orphaned at a young age because obviously of his inherent ability. But there's other gifted people like Dazai, who there's a lot of like fangirling for, because like so many like female watchers absolutely adore Dazai, and I can see why. He is a very charming character, and his ability is to basically neutralize other gifts. So if he comes in physical contact with a gift, he can neutralize it. There's some really sinister gifts in there, like there's a character in there called Q, and his ability is he's like got razor blades embedded everywhere in his arms. So everything from like the wrist up to his elbow is just embedded in razor blades, and it's wrapped in like bandage. If he bumps into someone and gets physically harmed by the razors digging deeper into his arms, he curses them. And by ripping the doll which he carries along, he can curse them so that they basically come under mind control. And his ability is like known as one of the most abhorrent abilities that could ever exist. So, and the whole plot of this is that I'm just going to quickly Google this because I'm very embarrassed by this, but I'm pretty certain his name is Akihito Bungo Stray Dogs.
I think Bungo's a much better name.
What's that?
I think Bungo's a much better name for a main character.
Oh, Atsushi. Atsushi. I remember it now. So he was basically being hunted by the equivalent of the mafia called Port Mafia because I think he's got like a 10 billion yen bounty for him. He's then saved from Port Mafia by this other thing called the Armed Detective Agency, which is a group of gifted individuals who their whole purpose is to basically solve gift-related crime in Yokohama. So you've got characters like Kunikida, who his ability is that if he's seen something, he can basically replicate it in real life, but he's only limited to items which are smaller than a notepad. So he can create anything like a flashbang, grenade, gun. Obviously, he can't make an AK-47 because it's bigger than an A4 piece of paper. You've got Yosano, the nurse. So her ability is that she can't heal minor wounds, but she can restore major wounds. So say, for example, if you've got you cut like the end of your finger off and you need it healing, she can't heal that. However, if she gets a chainsaw and rips off your whole limbs, she can heal you back to normal. So that's her sort of quirk. You've got another really loved character is Ranpo. So he's actually not gifted, but his ability, but his sort of quirk per se is that he is incredibly smart. And the whole reason that this detective agency was put together was because he's able to decipher crimes very, very well and can very accurately tell you like what's happened, who the culprit is, what the evidence is, where the evidence is. And it's just basically this whole story of this special agency, Port Mafia, and you've also got another thing called the Guild, which come in season 2. And then the only reason I'm rewatching it is because currently this season of anime, season 4 of Bungo Stray Dogs has come out, where you start to learn about more of the chief of the special detective agency, which is Yukichi Fukuzawa, and how him and Ranpo got together and formed the agency, the detective agency. So been rewatching it. I've just finished the end of season 2 where they fight the Guild. I think originally when I watched it on Mao, I think I did give it a 10. But it's just one of these series where now that I'm rewatching it, I'm just like, I think timeflation maybe happened, so I'll probably drop it to like an 8 or something.
You give everything a 10.
See, if I enjoy it, I give it a high rating. If I don't enjoy it, I give it a low rating. But I enjoyed it. I like the characters. It's funny. Dazai's quirk is that he wants to have a double suicide, and he's just always tragically trying to kill himself. But he's just I saw this thing in a book which says you can commit suicide by getting into an oil barrel, and you can asphyxiate yourself by going into it. And she was just so you're in this oil barrel, you've tried to kill yourself. What's the problem? Why are you saying you're struggling? It's and then Dazai's oh yeah, I really, I'm fed up with life. I want to kill myself, but I don't like suffering. so yeah, it's just that quirky interactions. Dazai being incredibly, a lot of the characters in it are incredibly smart, and it's just nice. I don't know. I just like seeing these really intelligent characters. I think that's one reason why Death Note was so popular. Why things like Zankyo no Terror were so popular. It's getting that fix of these rather than favoring these big burly muscly characters, but giving emphasis to the smarter types is one thing that's quite charming about it. So yeah, I'm enjoying Bungo Stray Dogs. Highly recommend to anyone who likes crime related, power fantasy. Well, I wouldn't say it's a power fantasy because it's not as off the scale as One Punch Man or anything like that. But I'm enjoying it, and lots of cute characters, but lots of different factions. So the 5 factions is Armed Detective Agency, Port Mafia, the Guild, Decay of Angel, which I think is season 3, and then Hunting Dogs, which I have no idea who they are, so I think I just spoiled it for me. Yeah, I've literally just spoiled it for myself. Fuck's sake. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on, because it's just one of these series where it's been around for a very long time.
I've not watched it.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was watching it. I was fuck me, it came out 2016. I was has it really been that long?
I literally just before we start recording, I started a new anime, and then I was like, I was like, when did it come out? Back in 2011? No, I think it was 2016, and it's like 2018. I'm like, well, I thought it was older than that, but yeah.
But the other thing is obviously we're getting towards the end of this current anime season already, and I feel like this season has just gone flying by for some reason.
Like an anime, literally, one of the animes of the season finished today. I think I gave it a 5. It wasn't that great, although they had the big scene that everyone was waiting for, and it happened twice at the end in the last episode, and all the comments were like, yes.
Which anime is it?
That reincarnation of a princess, whatever it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it just had the lesbian scenes in the last episode. Spoiler. It had like 2 scenes where they had to go whole ham kissing each other, and I was like, yeah, there you go. Everyone's happy. You got the scene. I got the scene. It's good. And then everything. And then the whole story was like, yeah, I don't really care. It did one of those things that I hate in stories where it's like, I will sacrifice this, and then it's like I like kind of like sacrificing humanity into like for doing something, and then I don't know, the whole like end of it just didn't make sense. It's like I also hate in like stories where it's like, if I get power, but then I slowly die. I hate that. I hate it with burning passion. Just one of those things that I'm like, I don't like that. I'm like, why would you gain power and then die? But anyway, you know what, Chris, you have played another game.
I have, yes. I'll only keep this one brief because we have discussed it on the podcast before a while back because Dan played it.
Yes.
I've been playing through Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That's mostly what I've been playing like the last couple of weeks. It's one I bought on my birthday, like back in January, but I've not been able to get around to it. But now I finally have. I've like crammed it, and you know what? It's way better than Borderlands 3. Not even close. It's just better. And I've replayed 3 recently as well because that came available on PlayStation Plus. So I downloaded that, played through it again, and that just gave me the spot. It's like, wow, I really must get around to Tiny Tina's. So I got my old Xbox One and booted that up because I was going to play it on my Xbox S originally, and then realised it didn't have a fucking disk drive because I'm an idiot. So I had to move things around. But anyway, yeah, Tiny Tina, it kind of plays like Borderlands 3, but it does things better. One, the writing's stronger. It's funnier. The missions are better. There's like very little in the way of backtracking or anything like that. The map design's much better. Unlike the other Borderlands games, it is broken down into maps, and you've got an overworld as well, which like connects it all together, which kind of acts like a map on its own. It's essentially just a different camera perspective. But each there are like just less maps than there are like in the other games. Like the other games, you had like 30 to 40 maps in like Borderlands 3. This one, there's only like 12, I think, give or take, 12, 13. But each map is a lot bigger and there's a lot more to do in each one. There's like a ton more collectibles to find and side quests. So every time you get up to a new area, you're going to be there for a few hours, which I think is just better paced. And it like every area is like different enough with like different enemy variety and just a different visual overhaul. So it relies heavily on like the fantasy aspect because it's meant to be like a sort of Dungeons and Dragons game.
Yeah.
So as you'd imagine, like the first area is just like, it's just like a field, just like a nice little pathway, easy enough. And then like the stakes just increase as you go on until you're like down to like necromancer territory much later on. So everything's dead and dying, as you may expect. But yeah, the voice cast in it are very good, especially Will Arnett as the Dragon Lord. It was just weird hearing BoJack Horseman's voice coming out, which is not a bad thing because obviously I've seen Will Arnett in loads of things. Like Arrested Development, I think was the first thing I've seen him in.
He's also,
and it was good in that.
Yeah, he's also Lego Batman.
Yes, he is. Yeah. And he was in the Turtles remake.
Yes, he was.
For some reason, because I think he wanted a check.
Yeah, he didn't really do much.
It's like everyone else in that film. On a weird, let's say, remake, shall we say? Yeah. Which we'll get onto shortly.
Yeah,
because I do have 2 films I want to talk about.
Yeah,
but it honestly, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Yeah, if you like the Borderlands games and you've not got around to this one because it is more of a side story, yeah, it's just way better than 3. It's still not my favourite. 2 is still my favourite.
Yeah.
So, but I will happily put this in the number 2 spot. So 2, Wonderlands, 1, and then yeah. What 1, then pre-sequel, then Borderlands 3. Although I do like pre-sequel as well.
For me, 1 and pre-sequel are kind of, I don't know. I think for me it's like 2 is at the top, and then 1 pre-sequel and Tiny Tina's Wonderland are kind of all joint second for different reasons.
Well, so, pre-sequel, it just feels like a sort of big add-on. It is its own game, but the whole thing, this was like, this is just like, this feels like a big lot of DLC for 2.
Yeah, but the thing is, it plays like 2, which is like the thing about 1 doesn't. 1 is 1. And like if 1 played like 2, like it would be higher. Like 1 hasn't aged the best, and all the improvements in 2, like 2 is still the best. Like it's ridiculous how good that game is still. Like I played it last year, and I was like, this still plays great. Like
it really is. There's so much variety. Like every time you run it, it's like you're gonna get different guns. Obviously, if you play a different character, you're gonna get a different loadout. But one of my favourite things about 2, which Tiny Tina does a bit of, not to the full extent, but pretty much the same. In 2, and you had a mechanic called Badass Points.
Oh, yes.
Where this was just like small incremental things where you accrue so many points and you get tokens which you can cash in like one of like 5 stat upgrades, which are only like very minor, or like 0.5% extra shields. So like pistol, but they add up. And they give you these things for doing like your standard stuff like kill X amount of people using pistols. But even better, for each individual map, there were little things for you to find everywhere. And some of them are like Easter eggs, there's like hidden things to find. But none of them are like marked on your map. They're like kind of things you're gotta be like actually aware of, like in your environment. They're essentially like super secrets, and there was a ton of them, and it just made exploring so much more fun. Like going up and like one that sticks out, Iridium Blight, going up a river of lava, and then like finding a ring on a corpse. It's like, hang on, this is a Lord of the Rings reference. This is like Mordor, but it's not like a side quest or anything. It's just there. It's like just extra things that just peppered in.
I still love the I still love the Dark Souls reference on was it Caustic Caverns, when you get there and it's just a ghost kneeling, sitting next to a bonfire. It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that's brilliant because it's not marked on the map. You don't really get anything for it. It's just like an Easter egg, and you just get a couple of badass points for it. And that system is not present at all in Borderlands 3. It was like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, why? It's such a good system. It's just really like you stripped a major part of it out.
The problem is, although pre-sequel is pre-sequel, it's meant to be a pre-sequel, funny enough, I think 3 doesn't even feel like the third game. Like, its story feels like it's a placeholder for the actual next part of the story.
Yeah, you say that, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It's like, well, here's the first draft. It's like, what? That's the full story? He's like, where's the rest of it? Like,
who knows what's going on with Borderlands? I have no Gearbox, whatever they're doing. Who knows?
I know. As much as I like Borderlands, Gearbox and 2K are not the best developers.
They've fallen off quite a bit, but you know what hasn't fallen off quite a bit? Pinocchio.
Oh, I was actually going to talk about a different film first.
Oh, you wanted to talk about Finch?
I did, yeah. Purely because we're going to talk about remakes shortly.
Okay.
And I feel like the Pinocchio one is essentially a remake, so I think it will lead nicely into it.
Okay, go.
Very, very briefly. So I watched a film which came out in 2001, which I'd never heard of, but I did see a little short for it on TikTok. It just randomly come up, and I saw Tom Hanks and was like talking to a robot in like a post-apocalyptic setting. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. So I looked it up, and it's a film called Finch, which turns out was on Apple TV Plus, like as an exclusive. So I couldn't find it on like Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything, which is a shame because I really enjoyed this movie. So the premise is Tom Hanks is on his own during a sort of post-apocalypse. There's like a solar flare which like wiped out the ozone, so it's like dangerous to like go out during the day now because it's like super heated temperatures. Ultraviolet light will like flat out kill you. And most people are gone. But he also finds this dog which like he has for company, and is Tom Hanks is also kind of dying, because it's the apocalypse. So he builds a robot to sort of look after this dog, because he's like a very talented electrician, like engineer. So he knows how to do all this stuff, and he does it. And it's from then on, it's more about the machine learning, and because it kind of like starts as a child. I suppose a bit like, if you've ever seen the film Chappie, a bit like that, but I think this is done intensely better. There's a little bit of humor, but it's more straight. It's like there's not much in the way of goofiness, but it did make me laugh in a couple of bits. If anything, just the robot's voice maybe giggle a bit. Just the way he phrases things, because he's like still learning, and he doesn't understand like idioms and synonyms and all this kind of stuff. But he takes things a bit literally. Also, the robot, if you see the design for it, looks a bit like Deadpool, and that's all I could ever see when I was looking at it. But I'd say it's like plot-wise, it's a little bit like I Am Legend a bit, because it's just like the one guy in the apocalypse and the dog, oddly enough. But they don't do the same things like every other post-apocalyptic things. There's no like sort of zombie outbreak or anything like that, or like scavengers. That's not a focus at all. There's nothing like that in it. It's just Tom Hanks trying to survive. So if you've seen films like The Martian, say, it's kind of got a similar tone to that. And if you like sort of survival stuff, but with robot and a dog in it, yeah, give it a whirl. Honestly, I've really enjoyed this one, and I want to rewatch it, even though I only watched it a couple of days ago. I just really enjoyed it, and I've never seen anyone talk about it or seen anything for it anywhere. I had no idea this film existed, and yeah, go watch it. Go check out Finch.
Sorry, where did you say which watched it? Was it on Netflix?
It was on Apple TV Plus, so find it any way you can. It wasn't exclusive for them, which is I suppose why nobody's ever seen anyone talk about it. The average reviews give it like 6.9, 7 out of 10s, which I suppose is fair, because it's not like a masterpiece or anything, but it is just kind of a chill movie. But the next film I'm going to discuss, again, fairly briefly, Pinocchio, the Del Toro remake, which recently won an Oscar, and in his speech, Del Toro's tried to hammer it home that animation is a medium, it's not a thing for kids. And I think more people need to hear that, because people see animations oh, it's a kids thing. It's really not. It's just a different form of that. It's a different way of telling a story. And yeah, so if you've not seen this, Pinocchio is a stop motion film all the way through, and it is stunning. The attention to detail is immaculate. Everything looks great, and honestly, plot wise, it takes a lot of cues from both the original source material and the Disney one. I've never read the book, so I can't say how close it is, but I do know it's a dark film, and yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff that happens in this as well. One little thing, like tidbit that I quite like. Actually, there's two facts of this which I quite enjoyed, because I'll be honest, I watched the making of this, which is not something I normally do, but honestly, I just watched the film, and then Netflix, if you leave it rolling, it'll play the next thing. It immediately started playing the making of, so I was like, it's only half hour, so I thought, screw it, I'll watch that as well. So I did that, and one of the things in it is, obviously, working with puppets and doing stop motion is not a cheap, nor is it a quick thing to do. And for the people who were working on the puppets, they made one for the villain, the main villain of it, and shot a lot of stuff with him. And Del Toro seen the design of it and decided it wasn't working. He's like, no, I don't like it. It looks too generic, because the puppet for it is a big burly beardy man. I suppose the villain from the Disney film. And it's just no, I don't like that. It looks too generic. You see that, you just think bad guy. So you wanted a different design. So in the final film, they've gone with a smaller guy with pointier stuff. It's got straight hair, with a sort of gap in the middle. I suppose it's meant to look a bit like Devil Horns. I think it's the kind of design he's going for. Looks like the kind of guy you might be able to trust, but clearly not. But Pinocchio's goodable. And the baddie in it is voiced by Christoph Waltz, who you may know from many good films like Inglourious Basterds, or the last two Daniel Craig films. I enjoyed this movie, but I'm not a big fan of musicals, and I didn't realise it was a musical. So the few times I started bursting out singing, I just started looking sideways. I was sitting watching it on my own. I was looking over my shoulders, I'm supposed to watch it. Walk in and are you watching a kid's musical? I was no. Which really not. And Ewan McGregor's in it as well as I say Jiminy Cricket, but he's not called that in the film. Got a different name. Wow. But he does a good job as well. Honestly, everyone does right. But the other good, another random tidbit, the second one I was going to mention is Kate Blanchett is in the film. She voices a monkey with no lines of dialogue. They got Kate Blanchett just to voice a monkey. Which when she came around to casting, she just wanted to be in it, and Del Toro was yeah, the only character role we've got it's just a monkey. And she's like, yeah, I'll do that for you. I will play for you. And this is her words, for you, I will play a pencil. I just want to be in it.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's one of those fun little facts. But yeah, I really like this movie. It's a lot darker than I expected. I knew it would be a little bit dark, but it brings in the war in Italy. It's got something Mussolini in it. Like, that's not a character I expected to pop up in a Pinocchio film. But here we are.
Mussolini not in the original one?
No.
Well, who was the puppeteer in the first one? What was his name?
Oh, no, I mean Mussolini, as in Mussolini.
Oh.
Like the real life one.
Oh.
Do your history research.
That's what I was thinking. I was just like, well, the puppet guy from the original one.
You're thinking of Geppetto.
That's the one.
Geppetto, I don't think I can make this distinction more clear. Geppetto isn't Mussolini.
No, not Geppetto. You know the guy who kidnaps all the children? Well, not the kidnaps the children, kidnapped Pinocchio for the performance.
Well, yeah, he's a bad guy, but I won't say he's as bad as Mussolini.
But I'm trying to remember, what was his name, though?
I can't remember. Beard bad man.
A bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Naughty face. Yeah, did you know like the original Pinocchio actually didn't do all that well? It just it's like every decade they just like re-released it because that's what Disney did. They do things in like short runs. So Pinocchio like came out in like 1960s, 1970, 1980, 1990, just kept re-releasing it. So initially it didn't do great, but it just over time just amassed more sales just by being re-released all the time.
Or Stromboli, that's his name.
Okay, there we know. Now we know.
Not Mussolini then.
Definitely not Mussolini.
Also, Dan, you probably know this as well, but you know when Chris first said Mussolini, I was like, Mussolini from Bacatotes? What's he got to do with this?
No.
That's literally the first thing that came to my mind was Mussolini from Bacatotes.
You've recently rewatched it, so...
I know, but that's the first... that's the only... When I hear Mussolini, I just think Mussolini from Bacatotes.
Well, I don't. I'm sorry. I just thought, oh, Mussolini, like actual Mussolini.
No, Bacatotes is what first came to my mind. I was like, what the fuck? What's he got to do with this?
What the fuck's Mussolini got to do with anime?
No, Mussolini, he's just takes pictures of people and gets nosebleeds all the time.
Again, real different. It's a bit different. We'll just stop, man. Maybe jokes when it's course. Oh dear. Anyway, let's remake the ending to this segment by talking remakes. So this is a subject that we have thought about for a very long time. In fact, we started thinking about it about 5 minutes after we started recording this evening. So we didn't really have any connective tissue to today's episodes, but since The Last of Us came out, and that's essentially a remake, and so is Pinocchio, we've got Resident Evil 4, which I know the demo came out, but at time of recording, the game hasn't, and I've avoided everything to do with it because I want to play it completely blind.
Yeah, I have played the demo, but on Chris's order, I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, on the pain of death.
Yep.
Yes, so a lot of people have said like this year and last year as well are kind of like, it seems to be like the era or decade, I suppose, of like remakes, because a lot of them has happened. We've still got the Silent Hill 2 remake to come. We've had Dead Space remake. So we were thinking like, what are some of the best or possibly worst remakes that have come out of recent years? Does anyone want to start?
Well, I've just literally opened up just like a general blog post of like favorite remakes of video games, and for some reason I completely forgot that they remade Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
they did.
It just completely slipped me as I was like preparing my list. I was like, oh yeah, that remade.
You remember, like Brandon and I, we bought Majora's Mask the day it released. We went to a game in Leicester. We were in the queue and we bought Majora's Mask together. Yeah,
I don't know why, but I just completely forgot about the remake because I just did. I mean, I enjoyed them. Like, they're not glitchy. They play fine. Like, I haven't really got that many complaints about it, really.
Because I was like, the Majora's Mask is like pretty much apparently the version to play, the 3DS version, because it apparently fixes a lot of it. It's been a while. I need to go back to it, but
yeah, just like the Ocarina of Time remakes, like redid the water temple to make it easier, less confusing.
Even though I still replayed the basically the original version last year, but who cares? I don't know. I guess one of my... It's not from recent years, it's from quite a while back. One of my favourite remakes is Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes.
I've never played that version. That's the GameCube one, isn't it?
That is the GameCube one, yes. It is heavily influenced by Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and anime. A lot of it is very anime. But yeah, that remake is great. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid 2 fan, so basically playing Metal Gear Solid 1 as it basically like Metal Gear Solid 2 is great. Not saying the PlayStation version bad, no, but it's just a great remake from top to bottom. It's just really cool seeing Shadow Moses come to see it the way a bit more fleshed out graphic wise, and just playing it, just having a bit more of a Sons of Liberty controls. It's a great remake.
Yeah, I've never played that remake. I've played the originals, but not the remake. Does it do much else to change up the original?
It's been a while.
Is there any more extra content, or is it still just like the base game, just graphical and controller as a whole?
It's been a while. I think it is generally the same. I don't know. It's been a while. I might have to Google it and have a look. I can't remember.
I imagine they added some of the VR missions, because I know they were.
That's what I thought, but I'm not sure.
It's pretty much a game just in itself, isn't it? It's like just VR mission packs.
I think so. Yeah. It's been rumored that they might remake that Blue Point, who might be remaking Metal Gear Solid 1, but it's been rumored for a while, but obviously we don't know. So they've remade. They're like the studio that just do remakes these days, since they've done one of the first PS5 games.
Yeah, they did. They did the remake of Demon's Souls, didn't they?
Yeah,
which I've played and I quite enjoy. Although I'm hesitant to call it a remake, because it feels more like a remaster, because there's like no additional content. It kind of like rides the line.
I think with a remake, I see it as a rebuild it from the ground up, and they definitely, to me, it would like Demon's Souls remake or Demon's Souls PS5 definitely feels like from the ground up. But each to their own.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when it came out, it's like, is it worth investing like 60-70 quid into? I know it's like a launch game, so people probably will, but also people are hesitant to it's a remake, but what have you actually done different? Does it justify the price tag? If I've got the original, is there any point?
Well,
I think for some it might have been an accessibility, because quite a few people got into Dark Souls as you go into like Dark Souls 3. So maybe just the accessibility of maybe not necessarily having a PS3, because it was like obviously PS4
there
era.
is that.
Then just have as the PS5 came out, it sort of brings back old life into the game.
Yeah, well,
or new life into the game rather than
again though. Could they not just ported like the original again, just like put it back on a server and just port it to the PS5?
I don't know. I remember hearing somewhere that PS3 games are notoriously difficult to emulate.
I don't know,
because of the architecture of the PS3 coding.
I don't know.
I think there might be some truth to that. That's why the PlayStation ones haven't really been backwards compatible and all that stuff.
I think there's
I think it's something to do with that,
because Metal Gear Solid 4 is pretty much stuck on PS3, but I'm not sure completely why. But that is kind of stuck on PS3. I've got the game. I don't really care. My PS3 is literally to my left. I can literally just plug it in and play Metal Gear Solid 4, and I'm away. But I think that that's another game that is stuck on the PS3, probably for similar reasons.
Well, when it comes to remakes or something like that, there's normally 3 reasons why they haven't ported it. It's because they've either lost the source code, so they won't be able to make it anyway, which has been a few things that happened. I think they did it with was it Final Fantasy VIII? They lost the source code. They couldn't do anything with it for ages. It might be a contractual thing, because certain studios own the rights to it, but they've now either split or joined other things like Rare have with Microsoft or Bethesda, say, so they're not going to remaster it for that reason. Even like little things like nitpicks, like just the music, like who owns the rights to that? So these things all have to be taken into account. So there's either that, or again, it might just be an accessibility, but for a different reason. Say a game, say it was made for like the Wii, so it's all motion controls. How do you port that to something like the Switch now?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the same problem as like with DS games.
Yeah,
they all involve the dual screen, that bottom screen, touch screen, system.
Yeah, some people manage to emulate it by using the mouse instead of a touchscreen, but they don't normally make for the most comfortable scenarios. Especially we've got things like microphone control. Something like Phantom Hourglass, that'll be a bitch.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Or because it uses everything.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you've got touchscreen, you've got a microphone, you've got to use it all. It's a selling point. First party Nintendo, we want to use everything to justify it, even though they're fucking worthless. Yeah. We'll get slightly off topic. One of my favourite remasters of all time, which I suppose will come as no surprise to anyone, is the Resident Evil remake, which is like the one that's been ported a lot. But I wouldn't say it's a replacement. I mean, I really do enjoy it. And given the choice, I would probably play the the remake over the PS1 original. But even then, I have to think about it because I think they're different enough to obviously both existing, and they are very different experiences. Sometimes I feel like playing a classic, so I'll boot up like a ROM of the original one, and sometimes I want to feel like playing the remake. So that's the kind of remake I really like. Is like take the same core game but improve on it, make it different enough to justify being its own experience. It's like, I suppose, a bit like remaking a movie. Like, and even if you don't like it, you can still say, well, it didn't work, but you still have the original to play or the original film to see. So I think that Resident Evil remake is on a lot of people's lists of like the best remakes ever.
I've got it.
Again,
I've not played it yet.
Have you not?
I bought it on the GameCube years ago, and I've never played it, never touched it.
Because it keeps like the sort of same level of difficulty, but it throws enough new stuff at you. But again, like accessibility, like people don't necessarily have access to like PS1 anymore. But the Resident Evil remake's been like ported to like everything.
Yeah, it's like Resident Evil 4. That's like on everything. Original Resident Evil 4 is like on everything. It's on originally GameCube, then they got to port it to PS2. Xbox, then it's on Wii, and then it's now on like Xbox One, probably PS5, PS4, PC, Switch. Yeah,
it's on mobile. It was on the Zeebo in Brazil.
Resi 4 is on mobile.
Yes, it was.
Oh my god!
It was on the Apple in 2010. Yeah, it was on the Brazilian console, the Zeebo. It was on there. And here's the funny thing: Resident Evil 4 was a GameCube exclusive. You can't play it anywhere else.
That's why. Yeah,
that worked well, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Originally on the GameCube, because every other version has the Ada Wong side story. The GameCube version doesn't.
So the GameCube is the inferior one. That was the big deal about it. It's like only on GameCube, nowhere else.
Yeah, because I got it on my GameCube, played it, and I found out the Ada Wong story, sold it, and now I've got it on so many other consoles because it's got the extra stuff.
Yep, and it was the days before DLCs, so they're all packaged with it as standard.
And obviously we're recording this days before the Resi 4 remake comes, which will be on all the modern consoles and PC.
Yeah. So again, like remakes, like by extension, you got the 2 and 3 remakes, which again are just very different. So like, yeah, you can have the Resident Evil 2 remake, but you should still play the original. Yeah, the basic story's there, but it's a completely different game, and I highly recommend all of them.
So you got Spyro the Dragon Reunited Trilogy.
Oh, I loved that. Absolutely loved that.
It was great seeing it all redone. I love the originals. They've got a soft, like that whole franchise I've got a soft spot for. It was great seeing it all reimagined or just a fresh
reignited.
Yes, to put a put on it. Yeah.
There is only one thing which I don't like about the Reignited trilogy, and it's going to sound really bad, but I really liked the accents of each of the areas and like the voice acting they did for those.
Yeah.
And then it got generalized. So like, like you go to the Metroid farm.
Yes.
They've lost that sort of mechanical touch, or like when they go to the Yeti ones, and you've got the Buddhist people, and there's just something about the accents in the original games. I was like, I just really loved it, but that it was just gone.
Yeah, some of the old voice acting is why I'm a bit like. But I like both. Obviously, you had the Crash Insane trilogy, and obviously Crash Team Racing. Crash Team Racing was fun. Insane trilogy was made a lot of people realize how hard Crash is, and I knew people would say it before it came out, and then it came out, and I was just like, yeah, it's a good game, good remake, but I knew people would complain about the difficulty. I knew they would.
It's the same thing for like when Wolong came out and people were moaning about the difficulty. I'm just like, it's a whole genre of itself now. Like difficulty, like Crash Bandicoot is like known for triggering the insanely difficult platformer race.
It was like, it clearly from people who played it back in the day, and it was like, yeah, I can't wait to replay it. They'd obviously not replayed it since, and people who had were like, yeah, it's hard, mate. And then it came out, and it was like, wait, this is hard. Like, yeah, you clearly didn't replay it, but there.
Yeah, difficulty is a weird thing. Like, games have always been difficult, especially in the older days where all of them had the arcade mentality to take your money.
Yeah,
it's going to be way more difficult, and by design. In fact, if not straight up broken. So everything is easier than it used to be. It's far more forgiving. Because again, that's just another accessibility issue. Because you're selling the game now, you want to sell it to as many people as possible. So you want to change like all the settings. You want to put in like a colorblind mode. You want to change the control layout so people with like physical handicaps can play the games as well as anyone else. So they need to like put it in a difficulty option for the most part to allow you to play. Like everyone can play it. They don't want to gatekeep people out of it. Bringing it around to Crash and Spyro, for me they were interesting ones because I had never played the originals. I played the original Crash Bandicoot, but none of the sequels, and I'd never played Spyro. So my only experience with them is the newer ones, and I fully enjoyed them. But voice acting aside, is there really any reason to play the originals now you have the remasters? Did it make them redundant?
Yes. Oh, well, I've got one. Like, wait, yeah. You're saying like, is there a remake that will make the originals redundant?
Yeah, because I haven't played the originals, I can't say.
Originals
Are you just regarding Spyro?
I was just regarding Spyro, but I suppose could broaden it out a bit. You got to admit, like if you like take off your rose-tinted glasses and you don't have the nostalgia for it, if you picked it up now, would like some of the original games just be flat out bad, like the get controls or just look terrible? Like...
I can see how people would be put off by the original Spyros because of the polygons, because it's a PS1 game.
I would say the graphics, yes. Other than that, I think gameplay wise, it's fine.
It's exactly the same.
It is. I wouldn't say the gameplay is like, on a gameplay standpoint, I don't see any problem with the originals.
There's certain sections in like some games. The Waters Temple is a good example of like areas that should be fixed. Like admittedly, like everyone says like, oh, this game's great, this game's fantastic, apart from this one bit. So when it gets remastered, the first thing on anyone's lips is, did they fix this bit? Have they redone it? Make it better?
I don't know, but I mean, there are definitely some remakes which, like the Final Fantasy VII remake, like it's sort of its own thing, isn't it?
It's completely different.
It's not a remake. It's just Final Fantasy. Well,
it really is its own thing.
Final Fantasy VII. Like, you may as well just rename the whole thing.
Yeah,
I've put like the branding of Cloud on it.
It's a pseudo sequel, ain't it?
Yeah, it's pseudo sequel.
Yeah, I'm still disappointed with that remake.
I mean, keep it on topic, but going on a slight tangent. We spoke a lot about game remakes, but what about TV series remakes or movie remakes? Like, what ones have like rebranded series?
Ooh, good one. I'm gonna have to have a quick think about it.
I mean film-wise,
yeah, even film. Like, like some films have been like remade over the years. Like Pinocchio is a case example. Like, you had the original 1941. Then there was the 1990. The actual first live action Pinocchio one. I loved that one.
There were three Pinocchio remakes this year.
Yeah, there's been quite a few in recent times. Like, there's the Lion King remake, wasn't there?
Oh God,
which I've not seen.
I don't think any of the Disney live action remakes are even qualified. How is it a live action remake when it's all CG?
I am never going to watch that Lion King. That is not my Lion King.
No, I did watch the Aladdin one, and it was crap, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I think it's. I don't know if it's agreed upon, but if we're grading on a curve, I think that's probably the best one.
Oh.
Actually, yeah, I do have one. One of my favourite films ever is technically a remake, which is like the 1982 version of The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about that as well, because that
was like the 1950s remake, but that was again based on a book, like Who Goes There. But essentially, yeah, that is just a straight up remake,
Oh, don't forget it. It has to be up there. Compared to the original one, the corny Ronald McDonald compared to, actual creepy Pennywise.
It's fine. I wouldn't say it was great.
I prefer it over the original, like, a lot more. In terms of, like, graphically representation. Yeah, like, the original's closer to the book.
And it had Tim Curry in it.
Yeah, but I mean, I prefer the remake of it.
I'll be honest, the original was 3 hours long and was boring as fuck apart from Tim Curry.
Yeah, the original was very, you could tell its age, basically.
And the remake did, like, take, like, the basic premise and trim it down a lot.
Trim it down and dramatize it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was, like, amazing.
I don't know, I really liked it. It was like one of my first ever films by him, I think.
It's one of those things that, like, made a splash when it came out, and then the sequel came out, and apparently it was crap, and now nobody talks about it anymore. It's just like fed off. It's like, oh, is it one of the best remakes ever? It's like, yeah, nobody seems to even mention it now. What else we got?
What's a remake you would like to see? Gaming.
A game. Oh God, there's so many I'd love to see reimagined.
Like, because I mentioned earlier, because I obviously finished Fire Emblem Engage. After I finished it, I was like, what's going to be the next Fire Emblem game? And I had after playing it and thinking of what occurs in the game and what Engage kind of is, I think a remake, another Fire Emblem remake, seems like the best, seems like the ideal next Fire Emblem game, and I would expect it would be Fire Emblem 4, which is Geology of the Holy War. So I'm hoping that is the next Fire Emblem game, whenever that is, in another 4 or 5 years. 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows? So I guess that's, for me, I would like that as a remake, as a new Fire Emblem fan. If it was something else, I think one game I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know I've seen like rumors of maybe Final Fantasy 9 being remade, but I really don't want that. I adore. That's my favorite game. I don't think it needs to be remade. I've seen rumors, but I don't want that.
No, it didn't sell well enough to be remade. It's been ported. There won't be a make it.
No. But is there any games that you love that you would love to see a proper from the ground up remake?
One immediately jumps to mind, and that's like the original Fallout, like the top down perspective ones. I would like to see them redone, because as good as they are very janky, and the layout's terrible. Some of the design decisions are really bad and really need to be massively rebalanced. I suppose you could just like do it in mods, but I'd really just like to see a straight up remake. Keep the core game, keep it as is, but give it a graphical overhaul, remap all the controls, like streamline it, I guess. Don't turn it into like a first person one like the other ones. It's like, no, just keep it like top down, point and click. I'll be happy with that. I'd really like to see a remake of Fallout 1, and maybe 2 as well, but Fallout 2, I admit, is just better than the first one, because it does fix quite a lot of issues. So that one probably doesn't need a remake, but the first one definitely does.
If I was to choose like a select few, like thinking back to like my childhood games, like I spoke originally about like Digimon World Next Order as being like a carryover from Digimon World 1, but I like the premise of Digimon World 1, and it'd be nice to get that one modernized purely because Digimon World Next Order followed on, especially now because recently Digimon World Next Order was just recently brought over onto Steam, so it would be nice for Digimon World 1 to be brought back to life as well. Some of like the original Yu-Gi-Oh games I played, I'd love to see them redone. I'd love to be able to see like Dark Cloud, Dark Chronicle like remade, just to make them graphically more appealing and just sort of just expand on it. Like, I mean, it's just so nice to see. But there's tons of games there really is like tons of like more like they're just legacy games which I'd like to see remade.
That'll be a good one on the GameCube. It's Eternal Darkness, a horror game on its own. That was a phenomenal game. That really could do with a remaster. They could make that so much spookier, especially with like the elements of like putting all the psychological horror in it, and like messing with the fourth wall. I think they could do so much more stuff with that now.
I'm trying to think honestly, there's just like so many I can think of which I'd just love to be able to see redone. But it's just like trying to name the ones which I'd like to see. It's too many.
What about you then?
You know what's bad? I was trying to think of like games, and I looked at my shelf of games, and half of them, all of my like the oldest ones, have all been remade. Near enough all my PS1 games have all got remakes. I was just like, oh yeah, I've got the whole of Spyro there. I've got, oh yeah, there's Tony Hawk's. Oh wait, that's been remade. Oh yeah, Crash. Oh, that's all been remade. And then I was like, well, oh yeah, what about Tomb Raider? Oh wait, no, that's been remade. What about, oh yeah, so like near enough all my PlayStation 1 games I've got on my shelf, I've near enough all got a remake.
I've just thought of the one which I'd like to see remade.
What's that?
Obviously, we've had Spyro Reignited, but please, can they redo Enter the Dragonfly?
No,
because that was janky as hell. It needs fixing.
No, because what they've announced is they're going to make a new Spyro game, like Crash 4. It's about time. Yeah, it's been announced.
Really? Have I been sleeping under a rock?
Yes.
Spyro 4.
Yeah.
Is this all because of the success of Reignited, or do you think they did it just to get people re-hyped up for Spyro?
It's literally exactly the same with Crash 4. It's about time.
I.e., they like money.
Yes.
Well, it all boils down to.
Oh, there's like loads of things saying it's not being announced. Like,
I thought it had.
But I think there's like a lot of people like hypothesizing, or like maybe occasional like YouTube videos saying Spyro 4 teasers found from TFB after data mining or whatnot. You know, like there's. But I mean, it'd be great if an actual Spyro 4 comes out, but purely because like Spyro Into the Dragonfly was so broken, just redo it, like in terms of like the style of Reignited, just to get it a fresh lick of paint, iron out the crashing, the loading issues, just to make it into a playable state. And you know, because I want to be able to know the story of it. I want to be able to play through the game. It's like the same as Hero's Tale wasn't too bad. It was just Enter the Dragonfly was just broken, and it just needs fixing. You know, like what Chris said, like if you're going to remake it, just freshen it up to make it more appealing to the wider masses. But I'd say like Enter the Dragonfly is one I'd love. Like, just give it to me. I wouldn't pay top dollar for it. Absolutely not. Probably that's one reason why they won't do it.
I think a game I would like to see remade is, oh my gosh, it's already gone out of my head. Oh my gosh, I had it on the tip of my tongue. You know a game that I've heard rumours that they are going to remake is F-Zero GX. Saw rumours of that this week.
Don't remake that. I still haven't beaten the original. I still can't get past that fucking 8th level or whatever it is. I've been stuck at it for 22 years.
Oh my gosh. I think I've beaten it a couple of times.
It's just one of these games which you've started and never finished, like we discussed last episode.
Yeah. I literally had a game on my tip of my tongue. I'm annoyed now. Oh well.
I'd be annoyed.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's loads.
What about TV? What movies or films you'd like to see remade? Like just bigger budget.
I'm trying to think of that ever since I thought,
Not really any. Like movies and TVs, I'm a bit like, nah, I don't want remakes.
Not even any that haven't aged well.
No, not really.
Like I know Starship Troopers 3 is cursed because it's just the shit CGI. Like it goes to show, like when the first one went well, then the second one was more like a Saw movie, then the third one was just basically paper fire. It could do just freshen up, but I don't think it will do great personally. Just if they remade it, because no one will really want to see it, because everyone just knows Starship Troopers as the first film. Same for like the Mummy, or sorry, the Rock. The Scorpion King. People only know the first film. They don't realise there's another two more released afterwards.
I've remembered the game. I know what game I would love to see. I know what game I would love to see a full remake. Like a bit like it's a follow-on. Well, not a bit, like in graphical wise, like the game that follows it, the remake of the game that follows it, which Chris mentioned. I would love to see Final Fantasy VI remade.
That'd be interesting, because wasn't that the last of the era of the 8-bit ones? Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Final Fantasy VI is incredible. Definitely one of my favourite Final Fantasy games. Yeah.
See, going on that, it'd be nice to see maybe some of the old Dragon Quest games then brought to life, because like Dragon Quest 8 was probably like the first Dragon Quest game I ever played, and it's the only Dragon Quest game I've ever played. But it'd be nice to sort of witness some of the earlier ones as well, because like it was huge in Japan, absolutely huge.
They have been done, and they're mostly on the DS and 3DS. They have been remade.
That's the problem then.
Yeah. If you want to buy them, you've got a couple of days. I'm not going to lie, I've literally just booted up my 3DS right now to have a look at the 3DS
Yeah, that's
shop.
getting shut down.
Yeah, because
You can still buy them physically, but they have been remade.
Yeah, literally Monday it shuts. The Wii U and 3DS shop, well, at time recording, it's Monday. It will shut on Monday on the 27th. But when this is out, it's shut.
Oh.
Like, I spent 40 quid getting the whole of Fire Emblem Emblem Fates, and I've had to play through the first section of Fire Emblem Fates to make sure that the whole of it worked, and it did. I'm like, I now have the whole of that game ready to go. It's a shame, but it is what it is. Right, I'm literally typing in Dragon Quest and seeing what was on the 3DS store.
See, that'll be great. Like, obviously, like 8's like been ported a lot, but a good thing to have will be like a good remake, like as a collection, like Dragon Quest 1 through 7.
Yeah,
as a remake collection would be fantastic.
Just give it like freshen it up. You know, like what they did with the older Final Fantasies.
Yeah, just do it like they have like the Mega Man Legacy collection. Like, just whack them all on there. Boom. That would sell like hotcakes. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. Seems like a no-brainer.
I think it's because some people are just set. They don't think, they probably won't do well. But I guess it's probably like, as we discussed earlier, like accessibility, licensing. Like, how much would it cost? Like, if they have to outsource license it, like, would it outweigh the production and everything they can get from it?
Yeah, I understand that, but since it's like all like the same franchise, I imagine it'd be less of an issue. I mean, there's still porting games, and they have remade them, so it can't be that difficult. Well, Dragon Quest 1 is so simplistic because it's like an old NES game, and it's been like redone for mobile, so it's been remade several times. But there's no reason why they can't take all the existing remakes and just whack them all together in a collection. I don't know. Anyway, so I suppose, listeners at home, what are some of your favourite remakes? What films would you like to see remastered? Which ones do you think should be left well alone? There's plenty out there. I myself, when it comes to films, think the only films that should be remade are the ones that sort of underperformed, or they weren't bad, they had potential, but they were let down by several other issues, like, I don't know, bad acting, weird scenes that should have been deleted, like
bad timing of geopolitical
issues. Yeah, stuff like that. It's like, maybe if that released like a year earlier, it would have been fine. It's like the stories, like you need like the original stories told better. Better.
Basically, yeah.
But I'm sure Hollywood will still keep banging out remakes because it's not like they've got any new ideas, let's face it. So they're going to keep coming.
It's like recently just loads of remakes are just, trying to get like the 80s and 90s kids revved up.
Yeah, I remember when the original films that came out, like back in the 80s. People have died since then.
Yeah, pretty much.
People in there that are already in like the 40s and 50s. We need like the new generation of remakes. I'm expecting like the Princess Bride and the Labyrinth remake to be around the corner any day soon.
No, please don't touch Labyrinth.
Yeah, I know. I fear it will happen, and they'll probably just cast someone like Jared Leto in it, and I'm getting upset just thinking about it.
Or if they remake Beetlejuice, there might be public outcry.
What the hell is happening with Beetlejuice 2? It's been announced like 18 times, and I don't know what the hell's going on with it. Coming out or not, mate, you don't mind it.
I've got no idea. Although, like, speaking of actually, just another remake, is the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake wasn't too bad.
Oh, it's fucking dreadful.
I didn't mind it.
You were talking about the Johnny Depp one?
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Fucking
just give it a fresh lick of paint. It appeases to like the Tim Burton crowd, like because of that esque.
The original was timeless. The original was timeless, and
granted.
It still has its issues. Yeah, I won't deny it's not a great, perfect film. I actually don't think it's all that good. Yeah, not for me. Well, Gene Wilder's amazing as ever, but yeah, no, that remake was terrible. Sorry, I'm gonna have to disagree with you massively on that one, and I think most of the world will as well.
Yeah, I was just saying it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't say it's amazing.
No, I certainly wouldn't use the words "amazing" in that film in the same sentence.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm sure that kind of film that is, because children's films are ripe for being remade a load.
That's what I mean. It's just like bringing the children's films back to like modern children who don't like. Is that, why is the camera quality so fuzzy? It's because it was made years ago, mate.
The game I've just played, like one of my games of the year, like Hi-Fi Rush, has a joke where they're saying, so what's wrong with the cameras? I can't see anything. And one of the robot employees goes, it's dropped down to 480p. It's unviewable. It's funny you should mention Roald Dahl because there's been the controversy recently of like how they're taking like the original works and like rewording them, but I think that's been scrapped now. I think that they came at the concept of like republishing them, changing the language in it to make it more accepting, and I think it's just been a hit with such like backlash. The thing is, one of them they said, Augustus Gloos will no longer be called fat; he will now be called enormous. It's like enormous is much worse than being called fat. Like if someone says, "Hey, you fat fuck," you go, "Yeah, what?" If he's like, "Hey, you're enormous,"
they couldn't call like a character ugly anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what's that going to do to the story about the ugly duckling then? Yeah. The not so nice looking duckling.
I can understand changing certain phrases for obvious reasons. I suppose I don't have that big an issue if it doesn't change the meaning of the story, or if it's kept intact. That have said, yeah, we probably shouldn't have that slur from the 1920s in it. We could probably remove that, and nothing will change. But other than that, yeah, leave them alone. Again, some people say like, oh, we shouldn't ignore these things. Like, we should acknowledge they do happen. Right? Yeah, I don't want to go down this road anymore. I don't want to sound like an old man. Yeah.
Well,
I can understand them. I can understand some of them wanting to be remade though for those reasons. Again, it's just like every other thing we've said, like things that have potential but were ruined by this, that, and the other should be given another shot. Just don't keep remaking things that are already good.
Yeah, don't ruin them.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, you'll probably sell loads of tickets, but you'll forever have people comparing them. And you know, some people will like it, but you can guarantee that most people that will enjoy them are the people that haven't seen the original or didn't grow up with them. They only knew the new version, and that's all new to them, which is generally the case, I think.
Well, I think that might do it for our 49th episode, boys.
Yeah, started to get up on one now.
Halfway to 100.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Next episode is episode 50.
Yeah.
Speed running to 100. Oh, is that a spoiler?
Chris has already announced it.
Yeah, I've already announced it. So we have a special guest on the next episode.
Yes.
We have got the friend of the show, friend of our Twitch channels as well, and speedrunner, Weldy Time, on the show. And he's going to talk about speedrunning, because that's his bread and butter. And we haven't discussed speedrunning on the show before.
No.
Yeah, so it'll be a nice topic, actually.
It will be a good topic to discuss. And yeah, it just seems like it's all going to tie in nicely together. So it might have a slightly different format how we normally do things around here. Because we've got to account for someone else, and we might just stick to the one topic. We might talk about some of the newest stuff, what we've watched, but we'll see how we go.
We'll see.
We want to be nice to our guests, so we'll let them have the floor.
Yeah. I guess you know where we are on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These three on the Twitch: Skibaka and Spanky Ramples. You know how it all goes. Check us out on where you get your podcasts. Keep on listening.
Oh, two more little anecdotes before we leave.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else I'm going to say to them. One, if you decide to do Pokemon Red with only Weedles, do not do Pokemon Red with only Weedles. I've gotten up to Koga, and it's taken me 201 hours. Do not do it. Just don't.
Gosh.
Good luck against Sabrina.
Yeah, I don't even want to know. I haven't got there yet. It took 125. It took 125 hours to beat Brock. That's nuts.
What? No, oh my god, no.
How can it take so long? Because every time you do Poison Sting, it does 1 damage. But I guess you have to breed at like 60 level 20 Weedles.
Yeah, actually, it does less than that. Your Weedles do so much damage because they keep using Defense Scale that the game just registers that every attack you do as a miss because you're doing less than 0 damage. So yeah, it's fun. It said it isn't, so don't do it. But on the same token, one of the videos I uploaded, short with the Weedles, got banned in Russia.
Maybe they prefer using Caterpie.
Possibly. But I just thought that was a funny little anecdote.
Well,
welcome in. One of us is banned in Russia. I'll put that on my CV.
Well, you'll hear us again in 2 weeks, where there will be a 4th person for the first time ever.
Unless one of us dies, then it'll be free still.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And,
sorry guys, Brandon can't make it today.
I threw an axe at him. I mean, what?
Oh, yeah, he killed himself on axe throwing.
No, I didn't. I wouldn't. I'll get thrown out if I do.
Just thrown out, not arrested. Just thrown out.
Yeah.
You get a written warning. Don't do it again.
Well, be safe, and you'll hear us soon. Bye.
See ya.
See you, boys.